Most men think being emotional makes them human. Machiavelli would call it their greatest weakness. In a world that worships feelings and glorifies vulnerability, the few who master their emotions become gods among men. Because power, real power, belongs not to the loudest voice in the room, but to the calmest mind. There's a secret hidden in plain sight, a psychological code that ancient strategists, philosophers, and kings understood instinctively. It's the art of detachment, the ability to remain calm, cold, and calculated when everyone else loses control. This video isn't about suppressing your humanity. It's about weaponizing it, transforming emotion into strategy, chaos into clarity, and weakness into dominance. You've been told that being open and expressive will make you authentic. But Machiavelli knew the truth. Authenticity without control is self-destruction. The world tests you every day, through rejection, betrayal, and chaos, to see if it can break you. And for most men, it can, but not for all. There exists a rare type of man who feels everything and reveals nothing, who moves slowly, speaks less, and reacts only when it serves him. He's untouchable, unshakable, unbreakable. This is the mindset Machiavelli designed, and few men ever master it. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how to build it, and why those who don't will remain forever ruled by their emotions. The modern world has sold men a dangerous lie, that to be healthy, they must express their emotions freely. We're told to be vulnerable, to share how we feel, and to wear our hearts on our sleeves. But this myth, this idea that emotional indulgence is a form of strength, couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, it's one of the greatest deceptions of our time, and it has weakened an entire generation of men. Look at the ideals of masculine power that have stood the test of time. The Stoics, the samurai, the great military leaders, the kings and statesmen who built empires. None of them embraced emotional expression. They knew that true strength comes from restraint, composure, and control. Emotions were not meant to be expressed. They were meant to be governed. In the words of Marcus Aurelius, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. A king doesn't weep in public. He remains unfazed. A warrior doesn't allow fear to control him. He channels it. Modern society encourages men to wear their emotions like a badge of honor. But emotional indulgence isn't an expression of strength. It's a reflection of weakness. When a man reacts impulsively, when he allows his emotions to dictate his actions, he loses the respect of others and, more importantly, he loses control of himself. Emotional outbursts don't make a man authentic. They make him unpredictable, unstable, and easy to manipulate. The truth is, no one respects the man who can't control himself. Machiavelli understood something modern psychology forgets. Emotion isn't meant to rule you. It's meant to be ruled. A man who allows himself to be governed by emotion will always be at the mercy of the world around him. But a man who governs his emotions becomes an unstoppable force. Niccolò Machiavelli saw life not as a series of random events, but as a high-stakes game, a chessboard of power, perception, and control. In his masterwork, The Prince, he didn't just write about political strategy. He wrote about the psychology of human beings, the ways in which emotions and actions are manipulated to secure power and influence. What he understood, above all else, was this: the man who controls his emotions controls the game. Machiavelli's worldview is rooted in the idea that life is an ongoing struggle for dominance. And the key to winning this struggle lies not in brute force or physical strength, but in emotional discipline. In The Prince, he famously advises leaders, "It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." This means that authority isn't simply a matter of position or power. It's a matter of how you carry yourself, how you handle stress, how you respond to threats, how you react under pressure. All of these things shape how others perceive your strength. One of the most powerful pieces of advice Machiavelli offers is that a ruler should be both loved and feared. But if forced to choose, he should opt for fear. Why? Because fear can be controlled, whereas love is often fickle. But fear isn't about cruelty or oppression. It's about predictability and respect. When you master your emotions and remain composed in every situation, you create an aura of unshakable authority. People respect the man who doesn't flinch, who remains calm in the face of chaos, because they know he is in control of himself, and by extension, in control of them. In the modern world, this principle is just as relevant. Think about the people you respect. It's rarely the ones who fly off the handle at the first sign of conflict. It's the calm, composed individuals who handle pressure without breaking. These are the men who inspire confidence, earn trust, and ultimately hold the power. Machiavelli put it plainly: he who controls his emotions controls everyone else's reactions. And in a world where everyone is reacting to stimuli, the man who remains unshaken has the leverage. There's a paradox at the heart of real power. True dominance doesn't come from aggression. It comes from serenity. In a world that praises loudness, boldness, and brash displays of confidence, the idea of staying calm might seem counterintuitive. But the most powerful men throughout history were not the loudest. They were the ones who remained unshaken, unaffected, in control. Calmness is not a weakness. It is the quiet weapon of the master strategist. When you observe someone in a crisis, what do you instinctively trust more? The man who panics and reacts impulsively, or the one who stays cool, assessing the situation with unflinching clarity? The answer is obvious. People trust the calm man because he projects control. He doesn't let his emotions cloud his judgment. He doesn't fall victim to the same reactive instincts that most people do. His emotional neutrality allows him to think with precision, to make decisions that others can't, and that's what inspires confidence. But trust is not the only thing the calm man commands. He also inspires fear. Think about it. People instinctively fear what they can't predict, what they can't control. The man who doesn't react is a mystery. He becomes the unknown factor in any situation, which means others can't anticipate his next move. They can't manipulate him. And that makes him dangerous in the best possible way. Emotional neutrality doesn't just diffuse conflict. It disarms manipulation. When everyone else is driven by their emotions, when they're running on adrenaline, insecurity, or fear, the man who stands outside of that chaos, who isn't swept away by the tide, gains leverage. In dating, business, even family dynamics, emotional control makes you an enigma. Someone who doesn't fall prey to the same emotional traps as everyone else. You become the one people can't read, the one they can't predict. And when people can't predict you, they can't use you. This is the essence of Machiavellian calm. It is not passive indifference, but strategic composure. It is the power of being unshakable. The calm man is not weak because he doesn't react. He is strong because his every action is measured, deliberate, and calculated. But the modern world hates the calm man because he can't be controlled. And if he can't be controlled, he can't be exploited. In today's world, emotional reactivity isn't just encouraged, it's profitable. Every click, every argument, every heartbreak, someone profits from your lack of control. Society has been designed to exploit your emotional weaknesses, from outrage culture to the manipulative dynamics of dating, and even the corporate systems that profit from your stress. And most men don't even realize they're trapped. Take a look at modern media. We live in a time where outrage is the currency of the day. Every headline is engineered to trigger you. The news doesn't simply report events. It inflames emotions. Why? Because when people are emotionally reactive, they're easier to control. Their anger, fear, and frustration cloud their judgment, making them more likely to click, share, and engage. Your emotional turmoil is their profit. And it's not just media outlets. Social media platforms are designed to keep you hooked. Every post, every notification, engineered to trigger an emotional response. When you react, you're feeding the system. And the more you react, the more they profit. You think you're scrolling for entertainment, but in reality, you're being manipulated. But it doesn't stop there. In the realm of relationships, this emotional exploitation is even more dangerous. Women are biologically wired to test your emotional stability, to gauge whether you can handle the pressures of life with calm and authority. The man who reacts emotionally, whether in anger, jealousy, or desperation, loses value in her eyes. He becomes predictable, weak, and easy to manipulate. She may never fully respect or trust him. This emotional instability is the trap, and it's everywhere. Think about how corporations thrive on your stress. How many men spend their days in jobs they hate, surrounded by stressors they can't control, all because their emotions are being pulled by the system? Whether it's fear of losing status, stress over financial stability, or anger over a bad boss, emotions are the chains that keep you in line. These chains are invisible, but they're there, wrapped tight around your willpower. Every time you let your emotions control you, you become a pawn in someone else's game. You lose authority, you lose control, and you lose yourself. Becoming unshakable isn't a matter of suppressing your emotions. It's about disciplining them. The journey to Machiavellian calm starts with recognizing that emotions are tools, not tyrants. Once you realize that you are not a victim of your emotions, but the master of them, you begin to reshape your life and your relationships with the world. It's time to learn the techniques that turn emotional reactivity into strategic advantage. Step 1. Emotional awareness. The first step in mastering your emotions is awareness. This means recognizing when you're being triggered, when anger, fear, or anxiety starts to creep in. The key is not to deny these emotions, but to acknowledge them without immediately reacting. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this? What's the underlying cause? This simple awareness creates a gap between stimulus and response. Instead of reacting impulsively, you gain control over your emotions before they take over. In any given moment, remember, you can choose to respond or choose to observe. When you begin to view emotions from a distance, rather than through the lens of instinct, you disarm their power. Step 2. Delayed reaction. The second step is learning the art of the delayed reaction. When something or someone provokes you, wait. Don't act immediately. Give yourself a few moments, seconds, even minutes, to process the situation, to observe the response of those around you, and to decide on the best course of action. This delayed response isn't about avoiding confrontation or ignoring problems. It's about controlling the pace of your engagement. In a world that's increasingly fast-paced, a man who can slow down, think critically, and respond strategically is a man who commands power. Your ability to pause, to withhold a knee-jerk reaction, puts you in the driver's seat. When you stop reacting, you start dictating the game. Step 3. Strategic silence. One of the most powerful tools you can use to control your emotions, and those of others, is silence. Silence is not just the absence of sound. It's the presence of control. The more you speak, the more you reveal yourself to others. But when you remain silent in moments of emotional provocation, you maintain an air of mystery and authority. A leader doesn't need to respond to every provocation. He doesn't need to explain himself or justify his actions. He speaks only when necessary and with deliberate intention. The man who speaks too much reveals his weakness. The man who speaks little commands respect. Step 4. Purposeful detachment. The final step is purposeful detachment. This is not emotional numbness or apathy. It's the practice of removing yourself from the emotional weight of situations, while still engaging strategically. Detachment allows you to look at problems with clarity, to make decisions based on logic rather than feeling. Purposeful detachment doesn't mean becoming cold-hearted or indifferent to others. It means choosing where to invest your emotional energy. Just like a skilled chess player, you decide when to engage and when to let go. The detachment you develop in your emotions makes you impervious to manipulation. You stop being a slave to emotional highs and lows and start operating from a place of calm, consistent power. These steps, when practiced consistently, turn the philosophy of Machiavellian calm into a daily reality. You no longer react like everyone else. You stop being a victim to your impulses and instead become the master of your emotional world. This transformation is your path to becoming cold, unbreakable, and impossible to manipulate. Emotional control does more than shape your inner world. It fundamentally alters your place in the social hierarchy. When you master your emotions, you gain something far more valuable than fleeting approval or affection. You gain power. The true art of influence lies in the ability to remain calm, composed, and predictable while others around you are driven by chaos and impulse. This emotional stability shifts the power dynamic in every interaction, from the boardroom to the bedroom, and everything in between. Why women test your emotions. In relationships, women often test a man's emotional control. It's not because they enjoy seeing you falter. It's because they are instinctively looking for stability. They want to know that the man they're with can handle the pressure of life without cracking, that he can stay calm when the storm comes. When a man reacts emotionally, whether in jealousy, anger, or frustration, he shows weakness. He reveals that his emotional state is dependent on external circumstances, and that is an immediate turn-off. On the other hand, the man who remains composed, who responds with measured calm, commands respect. His emotional predictability becomes a cornerstone of his charisma. A woman may test his boundaries, push his buttons, but if he remains unfazed, she feels a sense of security and attraction toward him. He is not just another man, he is someone who can lead, someone who can protect her emotionally, someone who will not be swayed by the whims of the world. Why leaders project calm. In the world of power and influence, emotional control is a signature trait of the most effective leaders. The strongest leaders are those who remain unshaken by crisis, whose decision-making process is driven by logic and strategy rather than fear or desperation. In his writings, Machiavelli famously stated, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Fear, in this context, doesn't refer to cruelty, but to the certainty of a leader's resolve. When a man can remain calm in the face of adversity, he becomes a figure of authority, someone whose decisions people trust, even in the most uncertain times. Emotional predictability equals influence. Ultimately, power grows from emotional predictability. When people know they can't get a rise out of you, they begin to respect you. Whether in business, in relationships, or in social settings, the man who operates from a place of calm and emotional neutrality doesn't need to shout or demand attention. He gets it through his predictable steadiness. And from this respect grows influence. The man who remains unshakable becomes a force, someone others defer to, follow, and even fear. Men who master this level of control become untouchable in every arena. They stop reacting to the world and start dictating it. You've seen the truth now. Emotional fragility is not a sign of humanity. It's a mark of weakness. The modern world tries to convince men that expressing vulnerability is a path to authenticity, but in reality, it's the path to enslavement. Those who live by their emotions, those who allow themselves to be controlled by every impulse and reaction, are forever at the mercy of the world around them. But those who master their emotions, those who remain calm, cold, and unbreakable, stand above it all. The journey from emotional volatility to Machiavellian composure isn't easy, but it is powerful. You've learned the tools: emotional awareness, delayed reaction, strategic silence, and purposeful detachment. You've learned that true dominance isn't about aggression or loud displays of power. It's about control, calmness, and strategic influence. The calm man is not passive. He is disciplined, calculating, and, most importantly, untouchable. Now comes the choice. Most men will watch this and change nothing. They'll stay slaves to their emotions, manipulated by external forces, forever breakable. But you have the power to change. You have the tools to transform yourself into a man who cannot be shaken. A man who dictates the game. The world will continue to bend to the will of the calm man. And you can be that man. If you choose it, become the calm in every storm. Because the world bows to the man it can't shake.